With so many diets promising to change the way that your life works and how you eat on a daily basis, how can you know whether what you're eating is good for your health or totally terrible and destroying your insides? Well, as people who lived through the early 90s and the noughties and have seen food change, myself and Adam are going to explore what's worked for us, what we maybe think is true and what's false about modern eating habits today. So, welcome back to Temporally Scripted. Adam, here we are again.
Here we are again, excited for another episode for a change.
Into the temporally scripted universe we go.
At least it's not the multiverse. Less said about the better, really.
Indeed.
But yeah, so I guess food.
Yeah.
We all need it. Everybody likes it. What do we know
Some
about
need it more than others. But without putting too much of a finer point of it, some people say it's glandular.
Yeah, we don't know which gland. Is it the cake gland, the Doritos gland, the, I don't know, excess gland? Who knows?
It reminds me of that Ricky Gervais sketch where he talks about putting all the cakes through a really small door in the supermarket. And you can only get through that small door if you're like sitting enough. And then he said it was a brilliant idea because like they'll be outside, oh, I want a cake, but they can't get in until they lose enough weight to walk through the door, and then they're allowed inside. But he also said it's a terrible idea because then they might eat all the cakes in there and not be able to get out.
But that could happen too. Or they could just go to another shop next door that also sells cakes. Or maybe even make them, which would be good because...
Yeah, but does that not burn too many calories?
Perhaps, who knows? So yeah, we've seen like probably lots of different food types, food trends, things that were once called healthy but later aren't, or things that turn out to be healthy later on. Or in the old days, you had like a food pyramid and things like that. And I can't remember exactly how it went, but it's completely not how you should be eating, from what I've heard.
I think it's pretty much eat bread. It's like it's a Victorian thing, isn't it? It's eat bread or eat potatoes, because I think people often don't realize this, but if you take a look back at history, in Victorian times, people were pretty much eating, oh, breakfast time, what we having? It's a slice of bread. Okay, cool. Lunchtime, what we going to have then? Slice of bread. Okay, what about for dinner? What we having? Well, finish it off with a bit of a slice of bread.
Maybe a potato.
Okay. If you're in the north, yeah, you got more potatoes, the north of the UK, as we're talking about, obviously Victorian times. But yeah, and it would be much the same in the north. It would be, what we having for breakfast? Oh, potatoes. Sweet lunch. Yeah, a few more potatoes. And what about dinner? Oh, we're gonna have potatoes. And I suppose in the north it's better because you can have baked potatoes, boiled potatoes, roast potatoes, jacket potatoes, chips. But again, it's pretty much the same thing. So in the Victorian times, people used to work hard all day. They pretty much just ate the same things all the time. And I think that's why they sort of brought out this food pyramid later as they started to get more things available.
Yeah, more things got added, but added slowly. So you still had like bread as the main thing at the bottom and everything just went out.
Yeah, maybe they treated it a bit like Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So as long as you've got the bottom base, that's all right. But then eventually you want to jump into some grains and whatever else.
Find something that has some vitamins.
Yeah, precisely. So I think that's probably where some of that came from. And really, it's just how do you sustain society on the limited food stocks that were once available?
Yeah, and I guess even things like meat, it's like people would eat it, but it was a lot less than now. It's like maybe you'd have like your big Sunday dinner or something like that, but then you wouldn't have a great deal of meat throughout the week in the same way that people do now, where it's like anytime, just eat literally anything you want.
Yeah, totally, totally. And I guess that's why some of the diets that have started coming out a bit more are there. Like you see more of these meat diets, and we will dig into some of that later on. But I wanted to ask you about your childhood and growing up, because we were almost coming through the time where food was at its glory age of there wasn't any real rules or restrictions about what chemicals and stuff you could put into foods, and there was enough chemicals around and had been developed. It was like this golden age where when you were a child, you could buy all of these things with like crazy stuff in them, and it was just have at
it. Yeah, pretty much. I know that some of the weird like sweets and candies and stuff that you could buy probably had all kinds of weird dyes and all kinds of probably things that later got banned because they really weren't healthy. At the same time, just the size of stuff as well, like things like Mars bars and stuff like that used to be massive, and then they gradually got smaller over time. But I remember being a kid, and a lot of the time for breakfast, it would either be cereal or Pop-Tarts or something like that. Either one just had a ton of sugar in it, and not sure what else. And then the cereal, you want to eat as much of it as possible because there might be a little toy at the bottom or something.
Try not to choke on it while you're like shoveling down, you know. There's a couple of cereals that I remember as a kid that always come back to my mind. Can you remember Nesquik cereal?
Yeah, so you'd put the milk in and it'd make it into hot chocolate or something, basically.
Yeah, if you used hot milk, which to be fair, I think is quite a popular thing in some parts of the country. Certainly they do that a lot in Europe. I know when I went on some French exchanges, they did that. But the thing with Nesquik is, can you remember what the cereal looked like?
Was it like little round sort of flakes?
No, it was little brown round balls, chocolate balls. And can you remember what was on the box of that?
Wasn't it a rabbit?
Yeah.
It's suspicious.
How did this, was that deliberate? Is someone sat in the office going, we just made a cereal that looks like rabbit poo, and they're loving it. Kids are shoveling it down their faces. They're looking at the box. They're like, wow, this is amazing. I want to pour out loads of these little chocolate balls and read whatever the rabbit's saying on the side while I'm chunking it down my neck.
Yeah, it's a bit like the sort of Easter egg thing. It's who brings the Easter eggs? The Easter bunny. Okay. I don't know. Always seemed a little bit strange.
Yeah. Where does it get these eggs from? Bunnies don't lay eggs, at least as far as I know. Maybe that bunny did lay eggs and pooed something else, which is why it's totally normal for it to. Or maybe it was some sort of chocolate pooing bunny from another universe. I don't know. Maybe. The other one that I always, the other one I always remember as a kid was Banana Bubbles, which I don't know if you remember, like the jingles in the 90s were awesome, but it was like Banana Bubbles, the cereal that thinks it's a milkshake. Ching.
Oh, maybe, yeah. The jingle kind of rings a bell. It's not something I think I ever tried, but
yeah, so I was well into Banana Bubbles for a time, and that just shows you the age of nutrition we were in. You buy your children a cereal because it thinks it's a milkshake, so you get like a banana milkshake with your sugar-covered chicken food. And the reason I got on with, so my brother, if you ask him this question, he'll still be traumatized today because I used to have a car sick problem when I was that age. And
nice.
Yeah, I used to shovel down Banana Bubbles and cheese and onion crisps and then just heave them all over the back of the car sat next to my brother. So if you ask him about Banana Bubbles, he doesn't have the fondest of memories.
I can imagine, yeah, especially with the smell of cheese and onion crisps. mixed in there or something as well. It could be really good.
The only good thing that came out of it is the fact that I'm now 100% an S&V man. And if anyone's a C&O kind of person, then I don't really give them the time of day, to be honest.
Jeez. But yeah, it's like all of those cereals. I don't know what they're like now. I would imagine they're still not particularly healthy. But I think I'd have like Frosties or Cocoa Pops or sometimes cornflakes, but cornflakes are plain. So you have to put a couple of spoons of sugar on or something like that. And then they always have that thing like written on the side, nutritional information. It's got all these extra added vitamins. And it's, yeah, that's great. But you've just had the equivalent of 10 spoons of sugar or something like that for your breakfast with something loosely related to grain. And it's not really the best start to the day.
Yeah, totally. I did the same a lot with Weetabix. And what I would do is I get the Weetabix and then couple of spoons of sugar, maybe a tablespoon, like 2 on each one.
Nice.
So it'd have a 2 millimeter layer of sugar, and then you slowly pour the milk on, and it makes it so it looks a little bit like the mortar between bricks if you were a bricklayer, but the brick is like really low quality grain chicken food, and the mortar is highly processed white sugar.
Good.
Yeah.
I think back then as well, though, there was an attitude where, we just didn't know quite as much about how to balance things. So you'd be like, I'm gonna have this cereal that's got loads of like additives or chocolate or sugar or whatever, and then have some milk, and it's that's good because milk's good for your bones. It'll help you grow. You're getting lots of calcium, and it's like, without thinking, but there's a lot of other stuff in there that maybe isn't so great.
Yeah. And not to add to that point as well, like your bones are more protein, aren't they, than they are calcium? There's some measurement and layout of your bones that they're actually more protein in there than there is calcium, like a lot more protein. So it's, in theory, right, you'd be better off eating protein in the morning for breakfast, which is weird. And I mean, because you and I now live in Southeast Asia, and I know their noodle dishes are heavily carb based, but it's quite weird living here in Vietnam. When I first came here and I saw people eating meat and soups with beef in and chicken and stuff for breakfast, you're like, weird. How can you eat that for breakfast?
But at the same time, like if you had a full English breakfast or something like, that's insanely high in just everything, really. It's such an extreme breakfast to have as well in some ways. If you go to some European countries, they'll have, I don't know, it'll be a cup of coffee and some like little kind of pastry thing or something like that, or something like really light for breakfast. But then England, it's this like massive plate of stuff, and it's like eggs, sausages, bacon, beans, mushrooms, stuff, and it's just wow.
But nobody ever actually eats it for breakfast, do they? I don't know if I've ever met someone that eats an English breakfast for breakfast. It's normally like lunch on a weekend or hangover.
Yeah, I guess I do it occasionally on a weekend.
Yeah, it's
but
like
not as like a daily thing.
Yeah, not going to wake up every day and do sausages and bacon and stuff. I have to say, what you've just said there as well is the Europeans, they have their bit of pastry and the coffee and stuff. And the English breakfast is like bacon, eggs, sausages, black pudding, toast, mushrooms, like tomatoes. That's the reason the sun never used to set on the British Empire.
Everyone's just hench from all the protein and go like conquer.
It's true. So if you go back to Napoleon War sort of times, one of our, and again, I would have to pull up the facts, but you're going to have to let me paraphrase here and tell a story, which I'm sure is bound in history. But we had this, some kind of history, Jack's version of history. But we had this like war strategist at some point during that time, like the Napoleon. And who was it on our side? It was, anyway, the really famous dude who won that. Yeah, something like that, who won that war against Napoleon. And one of the war strategists at that time was like, let's just start feeding all our guys beef and just feeding them some ridiculous high protein diet. And then instead of fighting from afar, we'll just pull up alongside. All our dudes will jump over and smash them in. And that's basically like how they started to win that war, because they just fed all the soldiers up so they were like bigger and stronger and healthier than everybody else on the battlefield. And it was like, I think that's where the phrase "an army marches on its stomach" comes from. Is this thing of the British Army back then was like, we're just going to feed our guys everything. Granted, our whole population that's not in the army is like eating bread 5 times a day, but these guys who are likely to get maimed, got like a 10% chance of living, we're going to feed them big beef stews and all of this stuff. And yeah, and it did make a huge difference to Britain's capability of traveling the world.
I can imagine it would do. Yeah, just sightseeing. You can buy a t-shirt, take a selfie next to this monkey.
Yeah, not ideal. But yeah, so maybe that was some of the earliest examples of a protein-based diet. And leading into that, have you tried any of these protein, keto, paleo style diets?
I've never really tried any of them properly. I tried intermittent fasting for a little while, where, yeah, so basically I'd eat in an 8-hour window. I did feel pretty good off it, and it was easy to do in a way, because I found it was quite easy to just go through till 12 o'clock, not eating. And then
crack your first beer.
Exactly. And a bag of Monster Munch. And then I could fit in all the calories and whatever else that I needed by 8 p.m. And then that's it. It was all right. I did feel a bit of an energy difference in some ways. And that first meal of the day was a good one because you're really hungry by then. But the only thing I'd say is I was all right doing the job that I did, but if I was operating heavy machinery, I don't think it would be quite so good, because it felt a bit dizzy at times in the morning.
Yeah. So waking up and writing in your journal and sitting on the beach and filling in your memoirs as you do now is it's fine.
I could go back to that. Yeah,
it's fine for that diet for sure. But trying to actually do any physical labor. Yeah, I've done intermittent fasting, and sometimes I still go through that as well, where I just wait. But because I like to go to the gym in the morning, I find it really difficult to perform in the gym. Not that I'm not doing like acrobatics or circus stuff.
It's doing stand-up comedy. Yeah, there's a quick show.
Yeah. Anyway, what did the bold man say? But no. But I just find it difficult to like get to any level of intensity in the gym if I don't eat in the morning.
Yeah, I don't think I just wouldn't. I wouldn't go without eating. I don't think, because it's like you just, for me anyway, it just feels like your body needs something to run on. It needs something to burn.
Yeah. Like I went this morning on a protein shake because I had meetings all morning from 5. So I just had a protein shake, double scoop, so 50 grams of protein, went to the gym. And the slight benefit of being marginally lighter when I was doing my assisted pull-ups ran out pretty quickly. Oh, that feels lighter. Oh, no, I'm so hungry.
You actually needed an assistant to come over and
start pulling it. Have you got one of those machines in your gym where it's like the assisted pull-up? So you put your knees on a pad and then it's got like weights underneath. Yeah, so you can make yourself weigh about 15 kilos and do pull-ups that way.
No, I've seen them and they do look cool, but I've never been in the gym that had one.
Yeah. I have to say it's one of my favorites. I once went to the gym with a friend of ours, Paddy, and he was like, yeah, we're doing pull day today. And he's into his gym. He goes a lot. He's a big dude. And he's like, yeah, we're doing pull day. So I was like, oh, great. I'll come down with you. So we get over to the assisted pull-up machine. He's just doing them without the assistants, and I am. So we did 2 sets. I was like, oh, this is all right. I wonder what we're doing next. 4 sets. Okay. 6 sets. I'm like, Paddy, when do we do something else? Oh no, mate, we're just doing pull-ups. It's like
All day.
we're doing 50 minutes of pull-ups, and then we'll do some barbell rows, and then we'll plank, and we're done. I was like, so we're in there for an hour and a half just doing pull-ups and rows. I was like, dude,
Jeez, that's a long day.
it was heavy. Anyway, so yeah, the intermittent fasting, I do think it works, and I think not eating so close to when you sleep makes a big difference to your rest in general, and particularly at our age, not getting up and needing to go and use the bathroom. It makes a big difference. I think it's not necessarily conducive if you're trying to build muscle and kind of strength in the gym. I think
yeah,
it's difficult
probably not.
to balance it.
But then at the same time, yeah, I see what you mean. I guess if you stuck your workout in like the middle of your eating window or something like that, that could work. But really, I would think going like 16 hours without anything and no protein intake, you're not going to build a lot off that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's stuff like, so there's casein protein that you can take. It's like a protein powder that's slow release. And that's quite good to take before sleep, actually, because then but then I don't know if that means you're technically not intermittent fasting. And
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Like, it's one of the reasons that I couldn't get on with, what's it called when you don't eat many carbs? Keto. I couldn't really get along with keto. Again, people have told me that if you eat enough fat and you get enough fat in your system. So for those of you that don't know, keto is where you only eat less than 5 grams of carbs a day, and it takes your body into ketosis, which means that instead of running on the energy that you get from carbohydrates, you're running off the protein, basically the fat and the protein that you take in. That was like the most basic explanation, probably wrong in a million ways. Got nutritionists screaming at the bottom, like, no wonder it didn't work for you, idiot. But again, I just found that it made me super low energy. Even if I persevered with it and ate a lot of fat, I just felt tired.
Yeah, I'm not sure with a lot of these different diets if maybe some people are just more suited to certain ones than others. It's because some people, as soon as they start on doing keto diet or carnivore diet or whatever, they just seem to really get into it, and it has huge health benefits, and they seem to have more energy, less illness, less inflammation, all kinds of different things. And then other people try it and it just doesn't work for them at all.
Yeah.
Just like some people seem to be able to be vegan or whatever and not have an issue with it. Whereas I just don't think I could do that.
No, I wonder if it's the same though as like what parents do to non-parents.
Right.
So like, I feel like it's that same thing when parents are like, oh, you know what, you've met this girl now, when are you settling down and having some kids? It's the best thing you can ever do, the best thing in life. Honestly, your life won't be complete until you have little kids running around that look like you. And it's what life's all about. And then as soon as you come to me and you say, oh, my girlfriend's pregnant, you're like, oh, now it all begins. Welcome to the club, mate. Enjoy your last 9 months before you don't get to sleep through the night again, and everything you do relies around someone else. And maybe the people who just eat steak every day are the same. They're like, oh man, this is so boring. I wish I could eat something else. This sucks so badly. But I've told everyone else how amazing it is, so I'm just gonna persevere. It might be the same.
I mean, it could well be. And that's the thing. I don't know. It's like eating steak. Yeah. Could I eat it every day? Yeah, probably. But could I eat it all day, every day? Or just switch between like just steak or just chicken or just lamb or so? It's like, after a while, it's going to get a bit boring. There's only so many different ways you can cook it. And you're just going to get sick of those same 2 or 3 flavors all the time.
Yeah, and it's a bit of a misconception because people say, oh, it's because it's what people in the caves would eat and stuff. It's like the caveman diet or paleo or whatever. It's the caveman diet. It's a caveman. and it's like, they weren't eating like grass-fed beef
Wagyu beef
like
or whatever,
prepared in a certain way. And even then, like the poultry or the birds or whatever that people were eating, I don't know, is poultry all birds or not? I'm not sure. But anyway, like whatever, birds, poultry, you name it, even back then, that's like red meat. If you go and shoot like ptarmigan, which is the white birds in Alaska and in the north, and you cut them open, their meat's like red.
right?
So like wild meat and stuff, even the birds and whatnot are like red meat. The diets we eat now is already going to be so far removed. Like I don't know if you've ever seen pictures of what fruits and vegetables look like.
Oh,
500
completely.
years ago,
Yeah, so I used to be
whatever.
into like growing vegetables and things, and you could get like heirloom seeds of different kinds of varieties that used to be popular a long time ago. And yeah, they all looked way different. But also with a lot of things we eat, it's if you see a picture of a chicken from the 1950s, it's like this really small, scrawny little thing with like long legs. You're not getting like a great deal of meat off it. Whereas now it's like you got some 5 kilo massive dinosaur thing.
10 legs.
Yeah.
Creature 32 or whatever.
I think that's just in Lincolnshire, I'm not sure. But
And there was a rumor, yeah, go on.
But yeah, it's just been a massive change like that. And so, yeah, to say, oh, going to eat like our ancestors, it's like, that's pretty tough because they didn't have the kind of animals that we have now because they've changed drastically over the last couple of 100 years. You can't get the same seeds and nuts and vegetables and roots or fruits or whatever that we would have eaten back in the day. So it's like you can approximate it or you can get as close as possible, but you can't actually have a paleo diet in some ways.
Yeah, and didn't cavemen and that only live till they were about 32?
Something like that, yeah.
So
well, also, yeah. And also as well, it's would they have really eaten that meat of that much meat? Some of them would. So you'd have some areas where they're like successful hunters. There's loads of things around. There'd be a lot of other places where it's like people just barely getting by, foraging different whatever kind of bits of vegetation they could that was edible.
Yeah, and presumably you'd be gorging on the meat as well. It's if you get a big kill like a buffalo or something, you're going to eat as much of it as possible on day one, aren't you, and day two, because it's going to go off. You can't put it in the fridge, so to speak.
And it's not just that it's going to go off, but it's that it's so rare that you would find these things often. And that's one of the reasons why I think people get addicted to food in the way that they do, because it's basically hardwired into us. Because so you're hunting and gathering and foraging, all of a sudden you find like a beehive, you find some honey, you're just going to take as much of that in as you can all at once. Same as like when you kill some animal, because as hunter-gatherers, whatever, we're just going to take something and go, we need that energy. And we're hardwired to take it in and store that energy if we can. But because food was so hard to come by a lot of the time, you just gorge on it in a way.
Yeah, and I see that in countries as they develop as well, or if they've been through a period where it's been wartime and there's a lack of food. It tends to be like the generations that are like the children of the people that survived that period of there not being much food that start to be overweight as well. Because there's this natural human thing of, there's enough food, eat, make sure you eat food while it's there. But there's not the scarcity that there once was. And I think you can see it in this side of the planet where now like a lot of the kids start to be overweight. Whereas if you went back sort of 30 years, that obviously wouldn't be the case. And it's the same sort of in the UK where people that are younger now, there tends to be less people overweight than there was in the slightly older generation, because then education kicks in again and people know there's enough food and there's not, a chance of there not being enough. So people start to eat less and they become more educated into why you should be balanced in what you eat. Yeah, it's interesting. I often think that people overcomplicate diet. It's the same with like what you wear every day. I don't know if you've ever heard the concept of these guys who just wear the same clothes every day. So in their wardrobe, it's like 10 of the same style shirt and 10 of the same style.
Yeah, like Lex Friedman's like that.
Yeah.
A white shirt, black tie, black suit. It's every day, and it just eliminates the sort of time spent going, oh, should I put this on? How about the red shirt? No, I just wear the same thing every day. I don't have to think about it. Don't have to waste time.
Yeah, and even if they're roughly in the same ilk, like the same smart shirts or the same this or that, they could be various colors or whatever. I have to say, I went the other day, I found a pair of shorts that I really like. And I was like, I'm just going to buy 5 different colors of these shorts, and all the other shorts like can go. That's it. So I've got 5 pairs of Blue Man shorts that are the most comfortable, the right size. They're a little bit big because I've lost quite a bit of weight, but I've got a belt, and that's awesome because I know every day they'll feel the same. They're the same style. I'm good with that. But I found for me, it's the same with diet. And before we move into our diets and how we do things now, about 4 months ago or 3 months ago, I did a detox, and it's called a Candida detox. And it's probably the most restrictive way I've ever eaten. It's like you can eat low carb style vegetables, like even broccoli's like on the edge, but just very simple, basic vegetables and meat. And that's it. It's like you can't even have kimchi or pickled cabbage or any of these other things. It's really simple, only black coffee, only once a day. And after a week of doing it, I felt amazing. I almost felt like this crazy snobbery about what everyone else eats. I was like, well, look at what you're all eating. I don't need any of that in my world. And it was amazing. Like I felt all this energy. I was clearing out. And like for a few days, it wasn't great. But then I felt awesome for about another week. And then after that, I started just running into the tiredness again. Just like immense tiredness. And oh man, I need some carbs in my world. But in that period, and I recommend everyone try this at some point, even things like boiled cabbage with no seasoning on them just tasted amazing. It was just so nice and so satiating that like it's hard to even explain.
Yeah, I've heard people say a similar thing when they quit sugar. So just completely stop having anything that's got sugar in it. And then anytime they eat a piece of fruit or vegetables that are kind of high in natural sugars, they just taste unbelievably sweet and like really incredible. Because it's almost like we numb ourselves with what we get used to.
Yeah, and even on that diet, I wasn't allowed any sugar, even natural sugars. So even bananas and sweet fruits and stuff, like after 2 weeks, you can start to introduce a little bit of apple or these like lower sugar fruits. Because again, eating those things too much is not necessarily good for you. And your whole taste of everything changes.
Yeah, it just slowly adjusts.
Something that I'm going to do at least once a year, if not twice a year, just to reset everything.
It probably sounds like a good idea, and it's probably quite a good exercise in just like willpower or persevering with something as well, and just going, okay, I'm going to have this week or 2 weeks where I just full detox, which is probably good. I know people do a similar thing with actual fasting and do like a 3-day fast or something like that, which I always think could be interesting. And apparently it does press a reset button in a lot of ways. I've thought about it, but never actually tried it.
Yeah, it's crossed my mind as well, and I've never actually done it. It's the same when I read a book ages ago called the 5 a.m. book, which is the worst book ever, but the best concept. It's so badly written. It's unbelievable. But the concept makes a lot of sense. And he's talking about this guy in there that's like a billionaire. Again, it's just a made up story, but it says this billionaire, like once a month, every month, he just sleeps on the floor with no quilt. just on the hard floor for one night, once a month, without fail. And again, it's that kind of thing. It's like a resetter where it makes you realize and appreciate all of the stuff that you have more. Because some people, that is their lives. Like, I think we often forget, and it's the same with food, and the choice to be able to go and eat high quality steak and do all of these other things, right? Is like, we're lucky to be able to do that. Some people are like, don't have any food or anything to eat, or there's places in Africa where the people eat mud cakes just to have their bellies feel fuller. And I think
that's
sometimes
Haiti, isn't it? Where they
Yeah.
literally make these cakes as like flour, water, and mud, and then just left in the sunshine, and then off you go
to feel full, which is crazy, right? I think sometimes either way, these dietary changes and stuff is like a reset where you can start to really appreciate the food that you've got a bit more and be more mindful about showing gratitude for those things. And I guess I also spent 7 years in my 20s as a vegetarian as well.
I did a bit of vegetarianism. I can't remember how long for. I think about 6 or 9 months, something like that. Yeah, it started one day. I was walking along a path next to a field, and it was a field of cows. I stopped for a minute, and there was this cow just looking at me, just chilling out, had a bit of a moment. And it's like, it just seems really unfair to kill this animal and eat it. It seems nice. Seems like a good soul. And yeah, just kept thinking more and more about that kind of thing, and so decided to not eat meat, which it worked for a bit. But yeah, later I just came to the conclusion I'd happily kill an animal to eat it, so it's all right if someone else kills it for me and I buy what they've murdered.
Was it a barbecue at someone's house on a sunny day, by any chance?
I can't remember, to be honest.
I came out of vegetarianism after a really heavy weekend that was like 3 days of little to no food. And I was like, vegetarian food is just not gonna bring me back to life right now. I need a steak. So I broke my 7 years of vegetarianism with £30 steak. Not weight, like cost value. It was
Right.
like, I think I basically came out on a mixed grill style, like, just give me all of it. I want a meat injection right now. And I don't feel like I was ever particularly healthy as a vegetarian either. I lost a ton of weight. There were other factors involved for sure in that. I did like to dance.
A lot.
Some weekends. And often when you get so carried away with dancing, you forget that you need to eat. Because I'm sure you can remember those times when we get
indeed. Which I think I was probably about 20 or something like that when I tried the vegetarian thing, and you were saying you're in your 20s. I think at those kinds of times, it might not have been like massively unhealthy for you, and you might not have noticed any ill effects. But I think if I tried it now, I'd really notice it, because I don't know, if I did vegetarianism or veganism, I guess I'd be unbelievably careful with it, because there's just so many things that you just cannot get from that diet that you need to supplement. And I think that's where most people that do the vegetarian or vegan thing, they just mess up and become really quite unhealthy through it, because most people, well, just not eat meat or animal products. Okay, great. Where are you going to get protein? Where are you going to get amino acids? Where are you going to get a whole host of other things that are vital for your body? Even apparently taking things like creatine can be really important if you're doing like a vegan diet, because it's something that you'd naturally get some of from various animal sources, but you're just not going to get from lettuce. I don't know.
Yeah, and that's the thing. and on top of that, it's the crushing environmental impact of the soy industry in terms of monoculture and chemical runoff.
Yeah, isn't it something like
shipping.
we chop down an area of the rainforest that's around the size of Belgium each year just so we can grow soy that we can then feed to cattle or whatever.
Yeah, and I know that it's obviously both ends of the spectrum. It's difficult, right? Regardless of which direction you go in, and I think a lot of it is it's to try and make people fall out about the things that aren't actually true. Because if we must be at an age of efficiency where if the right amount of money was invested in the right places, we could figure out how to produce enough food for everybody to have enough. But there's always, it makes sense even for people that aren't involved, but for people like us to feel like it's not in the world's control to feed everybody or to give everybody water, because it removes the guilt of when you go and chow down on 3 double cheeseburgers at McDonald's with extra curly fries and a salad because you're trying to be good, and a Diet Coke.
But you actually need to, these days, you need to actually order that many things from McDonald's to feel full. It's like, I don't go to very often, but ordered it one day last week. It was like, oh, cool. Got like Big Mac, got my fries. Looking forward to it. It arrives, really big bags. So wicked. Open it up. You got this thing that's maybe about that with this tiny little Big Mac. And it's like, come on. Even like 5 years ago, it was way more than that.
It should just be called a Mac now, shouldn't it?
Yeah, or an ACK. I don't know.
Yeah, I wonder how they get away with that on the quarter pounder. I suppose everywhere else they call it the Royale. So the Royale could be less than a quarter pound, but I'm assuming the quarter pounder must be still. That's why now the burger's this big and the burner nut's like this big in the middle. So you're just chowing through like unseasoned beef for 5 minutes. It's just like some sort of Saturn burger eating around the outside. And then eventually you might get to the middle, and then it's. They seem to not have gone down on the number of pickles though, but now the pickle to bread ratio is too high for sure.
Oh, the pickle to beef ratio is just through the roof.
Beyond, yeah. And I mean, that probably means that it's less close to being a dessert than it used to be. Because I think the only reason they put pickles in the burgers is to stop it being classed as a dessert or a cake in certain countries, as that would tip them into a different tax.
Because there's so much sugar in the actual bread.
That could be one of the urban myths. Did you ever hear about Creature 32 or whatever, which was supposedly like this pink genetically modified chicken with 10 legs that was specifically bred for KFC?
I never heard of that, but it's a bit like, I remember reading this article, which I think the company had released as a joke, but it was like a games console, but because you've got like the CPUs, whatever, it gets quite hot, but it was like a KFC console, so you could stick chicken in it and it'd heat the chicken for you while you're playing.
I did see that. Yeah, what a genius marketing ploy. Yeah, that's crazy. Fast food and everything's definitely changed a lot since we were younger, and certainly the chemicals that are in those drinks. But like moving into now, because we've talked a lot about different diets, and we've been through paleo and all the different things that we've tried and how we've eaten, but what do you think is the best diet now for you?
So I guess my diet's changed a lot, but it's just ideally as little ultra processed things as possible. Everything's been processed to some degree, unfortunately, but it's just like trying to keep it to a minimum. Because I guess in the ones we talked about, I'd probably want to go closest to like paleo in a way, but maybe not quite, but keep things as natural as possible, because there's stuff that as we evolved over so many billion years or whatever to where we are now, we evolved to eat certain kinds of foods and digest certain kinds of things, and there's certain things that our bodies just aren't designed to ingest or digest. And I think also, I mean, if you look around the world, you've got all kinds of different increases in various kinds of illnesses, whether it's like autoimmune things, whether it's autism, whether it's obesity, whatever. Something's changed. We don't know exactly what it is, but when you're adding so many different combinations of chemicals and ultra bizarre things that we never used to eat or consume into like the regular diet, I would think maybe that could be part of it, because it is that thing of like complex systems. You change something a little bit in a complex system, you don't know how it's going to affect something that's over here. So I think just as close to natural as possible, or with the fewest ingredients. So typically for me, dinner time would involve usually grilled chicken, some vegetables, some brown rice. It's incredibly boring in a way, but it tastes good. And it's like, it's decent food.
Agree. Yeah, I'd say that's pretty much what I would do as well. It's usually either a chicken or not a whole chicken, but it's usually a chicken breast based meal, grilled again, herbs and spices, like nothing too crazy, nothing too saucy. Or it's steak or fish. Like, so out here it's really easy to get. It's not sea bass, it's like this side of the world sea bass. Barramundi, I think, is like the sea bass on this side of the world. I think it's the same thing basically. And again, like something like that, just grilled, nicely grilled, some vegetables. And then I do eat kimchi most days. Like I get a big chunk of kimchi, and sometimes with lunch and with dinner. And usually there's like a rotation. So like my lunch is, again, it's like grilled meat with vegetables and some kind of kimchi. And one of those two meals, I'll have some rice as well.
Yeah, it
just
sounds
boiled
good.
rice.
I think involving stuff like kimchi as well, because it's got that, is it like prebiotic and probiotic all in one? I know it's like super good for your microbiome.
Yeah, and it's better than like kombucha and these kinds of things as well, than actually eating the foods that are fermented or pickles or whatever else, right? And then for me, for breakfast, which is another thing that's quite, I think, has changed, and sometimes my mother-in-law gives me abuse for it because I'm not sure she quite knows how that study's changed, but I tend to have like between 5 and 7 eggs a day as well.
That's a whole lot.
Yeah, so at breakfast I'll have a 5-egg scrambled egg. And then after the gym, I'll sometimes go to there's a thing in Vietnam called bornier, which I don't know if you've ever had it before, but it's like it comes out in
on like a sizzling
griddle
plate, and you've got like the beef and then the eggs on top.
A couple of eggs and a bit of pate and a baguette next to it. And I know white bread's not amazing, but I also want to live. Like sometimes I'll go and have a couple of scoops of ice cream from the nice ice cream place that's down the road, or I'll cheat and do whatever, because at the end of the day, you've still got to live. But yeah, I do. I think eggs are like nature's superfood. Like they're just amazingly good for you, and you can't really eat too many.
Yeah, I think usually every day I'll have 2 or 3, not 7, but yeah.
Fuck your egg consumption, boy. You don't eat enough eggs, man.
3 a day just isn't enough. Come on.
You need to eat more eggs. But again, it's like one of those things that in the past people would say, oh, you shouldn't eat eggs. If you eat too many eggs, going to give you high cholesterol. And
it was like a liver thing as well, wasn't it? People said, oh, if you eat too many eggs, it'll be bad for your liver and things like that. And it's absolutely not true.
Whilst having a couple of drabs of whiskey before bed.
A couple of cigarettes.
A whiskey for breakfast.
I was watching something interesting the other day. It was a podcast, and it was an interview of Dr. Rhonda Patrick, who you've probably seen on different podcasts and things before, talking about like food and nutrition and different things. And she was on about how good like omega-3s are from things like salmon and stuff like that. But at the same time, she was saying in some ways, not completely, but in some regards, you're as you as well to have the actual capsules as eat the actual fish, because the capsules, everything's kind of like filtered and distilled and all that kind of thing, so it's pure. Whereas the fish has loads of plastic in it, because unfortunately plastic's in everything, and especially if it's stuff coming from the sea, you're getting all kinds of plastic in there, like in big chunks, in tiny little particles and everything. And I think that could be something in the future, but again, we don't know the extent of what that does to us. But maybe in the future we'll find out and it's not so good. But it seems like it's really difficult not to consume plastic because it's in everything, or different chemicals from it will leach from packaging and bottles and things like that into the contents.
Yeah, and I think it will already be at the point where it's impossible to avoid. Like it's already too late, I think, with those kinds of things.
And impossible to clean up.
Yeah, and it's impossible to remove. But I guess, again, it's the technology. As technology moves forward, maybe there'll be some kind of plastic removal enema that you can go for, where they open you up and remove all of the plastic from your system. You can sign me up for one of those. I'll just go and get a plastic enema.
Yeah, maybe by then robots can be doing that kind of thing. They can be operating the machinery, because I don't know if anyone really wants that job.
Microscopic robots that can go in and get microplastics and and take them out of your system and your body.
Which could be handy, because I know they've found them in like all different areas of the human body, just gathering, and then actually
having
crossing.
A meeting.
Yeah, but then actually crossing like the blood-brain barrier. So you're actually getting plastic in your brain.
Wild.
Are
there any benefits to it?
This is it. It could make you faster, smarter, might make you jump higher. Who knows? But I've got a feeling it doesn't have these benefits. Again, we're not scientists. We don't know.
Yeah. Or maybe you think that you can jump further, or does it make your skin look younger?
Yeah, it gives it like a sheen.
Because if you've ever had an Action Man or a Barbie, depending on your predisposition, like they age brilliantly.
Yeah, that's true actually. So maybe it's a good thing.
As Aqua said, life in plastic, it's fantastic.
In my case, just get more stuff that's wrapped in plastic, microwave it, and eat what's inside.
Absolutely. So if we're going to leave the viewers with one thought from today's episode about diet and the way things are today, how would you sum that up for us, Adam? Come on, sum it up for us. No pressure.
I don't know, based on what we've said, I think it's not a one-size-fits-all approach for everybody, but I think it's just wise to at least do a little bit of research or try and educate yourself in some way, because that thing of like, you are what you eat, it's true. It's literal. Those proteins go and build your muscles. Those different minerals go into parts of your skeletal system, all kinds of things. So yeah, I'd say just, if you don't, find out more about it, or just be a bit more aware about what you're eating. And if you pick something up and you look on the label and on the ingredients bit, there's 36 different ingredients and you can only know 3 of them, and the rest you have no idea what they are. Maybe you might want to look into that, or just not buy that product.
Solid advice. And I think on top of that is that you should be, all of these things are in moderation, right? There's no point having a diet that you hate and that you really struggle to deal with and that takes you like 17 hours a week to cook or to source or whatever else. It's keep it simple and listen to what your body tells you when you eat these things and how much better you feel if you eat certain things over others. I think that's the real barometer in a lot of these situations, is like, how do you feel and what's good for you?
I think also as well, it's if you're wanting to make a change in your diet, most people, there's about 5 different main meals that they cook each week. As in through the week, it's every night. They generally have a bank of about 5 things. If you want to change something in your diet, just take out one, replace it with something else. After a month or 6 weeks, you've basically changed your entire diet.
Totally. Yeah, it doesn't have to be difficult. And the main thing is that, one, you enjoy it, but two, is not just banana bubbles mixed with cheese and onion crisps and
and thrown up in the car.
yeah. So absolutely. So that, I think that gives us a good grounding to bring things for next week's episode of Temporally Scripted. We're going to be diving into something that's a really positive topic, and whether or not are things getting worse is our topic for next week. So Adam and I will dig into whether or not the situation that we live in as humans is getting better or worse. And I'm sure there'll be some positives and some negatives coming out of that one. Don't forget that if you've enjoyed today's episode, give us a like and a subscribe. We are now starting to get close to the heady heights of 20 subscribers. And I'd like to thank you for sticking with us if you're still watching and still playing along with the whole Temporally Scripted vibe. So until next time, Adam.
Yeah, see you next time, folks.
Goodbye.